That's not it at all. We gotta switch this around. Oh, there we go. Boom. All right.
Check. 1, 2.
That's the so that's the behind the scenes one.
Oh geez.
Yeah.
Now we get to see how things are really done.
Yep. One of these days I'm gonna get this eagle eye working.
I love the brick in this room, an exposed duct.
Yeah, me too. I wish it was as nice as it was when Dave had it, but we'll get there someday. By the way, you're live now, so anything you said
can and will be used against me.
Exactly.
But it's not real brick, right? Or some of it's
No, it's real brick. It's all real brick.
What's that? Like the holes in it?
Decay.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh. Well, it's fantastic. I want my house to look like that.
Some of the kids are afraid to go in here because they're afraid of spiders coming through there. Which is probably valid.
Legit fear.
I've never seen it, but it's probably valid.
That's the test for their black belt.
Yeah.
Go into the spider room and survive. Spend the night.
Toddy, what's up? Samantha, what's up? You shouldn't be watching this. You should be supporting your husband. Or sorry, not your husband. Jeez, your boyfriend. David Flannery, you can watch this.
Don't let Bruce tell you what to do.
Samantha is Robel's girlfriend.
Oh, cool.
I don't know. Are you guys against labels? Samantha, let me know. I know you're a hardcore girl, so I need to know these things if I'm about to say these things. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Bruce Hoyer. Thank you very much for tuning into this very late version of Sioux Falls Athlete. I did this because I wanted to have one John Crouch on. If you don't know who he is, he's kind of, I'm a little bit of a John Crouch fanboy. And so he's one of the top coaches in the world for the world of MMA. And I wanted to have him on, and we wanted to talk a little bit of coaching. So first and foremost, for the folks that don't know who you are, how'd you get started in all this MMA stuff? And, talk a little bit about yourself as a coach.
Well, I've always loved sports, contact sports. I wrestled a little bit when I was young, just enough to be terrible, and played football for a long time. And then mid-20s, I had always wanted to try martial arts. And my mom got my girlfriend my Christmas present to Taekwondo school. So we started, and I liked it a lot, and went there for a little bit. My instructor there, his name was Phil Spence. He was a defensive tactics instructor for the police there, the Arapahoe County Sheriffs. And he went to the Gracie Academy and took their grapple program,
Sure.
which was for law enforcement. And he came back, started teaching jiu-jitsu, and slowly but surely talked me into it, and I loved it. And so I took the summer off and went to the Gracie Academy and lived with my brother.
The one in Torrance?
Yes,
Nice.
with Hoist had just gotten done beating Dan Severing. And so I was there when he came back, and he taught most of my classes through the summer. And loved it, applied for the instructor's program, and moved back the next year for 6 years, studied there. So that's where I got started. And then, moved to Denver, and eventually came down to the MMA Lab in Phoenix. And I've just really enjoyed being a coach. At first I was just wanting to be a regular jiu-jitsu guy and teach classes and stuff. And then over the years, it kind of evolved into an MMA job. And I really enjoyed the process.
Yeah, technical side on here, I don't know what's going on. It froze on you. At least that one's still working. That phone's still working. But now I'm sitting here trying to wonder why this one's not working. It just doesn't want to go. It's a morning show, and it just doesn't want to. That just died on me. Well, we'll still do it on this one.
Sounds good.
Your first time on a podcast, and it's just failing epically.
This is my first time. Yeah. I think my nerves have affected it. I'm so nervous.
You think so? I don't think you're nervous one bit.
I don't feel that.
How many times would you say you've probably been on national television? I would say probably at least a couple hundred now at this point.
Yeah, it's hard to say. You know, I've been interviewed a lot, and when Benson was the champ, like people were always asking me how he was going to do. So it's hard to say. I don't remember. Not so much anymore now that Ben's not the champ. I've been left behind for outer commodities.
But it's you still have, I think, just how many guys do you have in the UFC now? You have to have at least it seems like 15 to 20 hours.
Yeah, it's always right around there. We've just added a couple. Bobby Moffitt just won on the Contender Series, and he's in the UFC. T. Edwards won on the Contender Series this year, and now he's in the UFC. Dan Moret's down there with us, and he just got signed to the UFC. So, I'd say 15 is about right, 15 to 20.
Talk to me a little bit about that. What's it like having people come from other gyms? T came from another gym, and Bobby Moffitt actually was training with my coach, Competo, for a while, I think, and then moved down there. Dan Moret moved down there. Guys, obviously it must feel kind of nice having guys seek you out and purposely move down there, and what it's like for the coaching atmosphere. It's probably almost like being a college or a pro coach, where you're getting these guys that have been used to a certain coaching style, and then now you're doing your own style.
It's certainly interesting. I wouldn't even say it's a challenge. It's cool, People come down, they try it. Sometimes they like it, sometimes they don't. One of the great examples of that is Bulldog.
Yeah.
David Machado trained up here with you, and you've done such a great job with your program. So many great fighters. He was having trouble finding training partners. And I think you and him came to the conclusion that he should check it out. I met you guys at a fight one night when he fought Kerry Varnier. Is that the guy's name?
Yep. Kerry Varnier. Yeah.
And anyway, trains with Cowboy. Oh, there's some music.
Yeah, we're coming back now, apparently.
We might be saying something very dramatic here with this music.
Here, let me switch this over to this side. See if we can get Facebook back. Man, just... But anyways, we'll keep going. I believe we should be back now live on it. Windows, this particular Windows, I'll blame myself, but this Windows setup has been absolutely terrible for podcasting. So that like when your Windows updates come through this week, if you're doing a podcast, don't do it. It has just wreaked havoc on my system. So. Solid
advice.
Exactly. Yeah. There you go. And we're back now, and it seems to work just fine. So.
Well, anyway, when guys come down, honestly, it's an honor for me, and you and I have developed a friendship through it, and I still consider you David's coach,
And that's crazy for me, because I definitely consider you, you his coach, and now me almost like it was weird when a lot of those guys were first coming up, like Shayna and Ben, and folks that are in the UFC now, and even some of the other like almost first or second generation fighters that we had coming through here. I always felt more like a teammate rather than a coach. But I think that's a lot of times where I was just like, hey, you guys should go to another gym. It wasn't like I was trying to kick these guys out. I just always felt like insignificant as a coach in that point, just because I didn't feel really strong with my coaching yet. So I always felt like, oh man, I don't want to screw these folks' career up because of my lack of knowledge. So
I think that's part of the strong reason why they got where they were.
Sure.
Like Bulldog came down, he's had great success. He was in the UFC. Honestly, he should still be in the UFC. He wasn't given a fair shake there. But all the people that I've met that have come in, I love that they love where they came from. It's important to me. If they don't have any loyalty to where they came from, then probably a good chance it's not going to work out great.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I feel proud to be part of their process. I don't think, it's nice. Our setup is good because we have our weightlifting program, we have our strength conditioning coach there, we have our striking coach there, we have the jiu-jitsu program there, and the fight team practice. So they can do everything under the same roof, which is not always the case. People have to travel. So I think that sort of all-in-one stop has helped. but I really enjoy being part of the process with the coaches they had before as well.
Yeah, it's. I think you're one of the rare guys that do that. I know that every other coach that's had an athlete come from here hasn't done that, so it's been really cool. When Mashad got his purple belt, you were one of the first guys to ask to make sure that was okay with me, and that absolutely blew me away. So I mean, to me, that's craziness, but I like it. Do you feel like this sport is something to where you have to have almost like a high school team, college team, pro team kind of deal, or do you feel like a smaller team can still produce top level guys?
Yeah, I think for sure they can. I mean, it shows all over the place.
Sure.
Some of the bigger is not always better. Hands-on time is good. Now you need training partners, so there's a balance there.
Mm-hmm.
For example, you're a heavyweight or a borderline, right? But if you have somebody that's 125 pounds.
Yeah, let's be honest. There's no way. I just had like a brownie tonight. There's no way I'm getting to that 205 anytime soon. Folks.
But if you're, say, Rebel's your training partner,
right?
There's only so far you could. He needs some people that can move the same as he does. So there's a give and take. But I think absolutely there are super talented coaches that aren't even known yet, and they have a smaller platform to work on. So somebody from, say, Jackson's or ATT, they might get the call up to the UFC sooner than a smaller gym, which I don't think is necessarily fair based on the reputation of their gym. But I think smaller places can get it done, and I think there's a lot of really knowledgeable coaches.
Yeah, and I agree with that. It's funny. One of the promotions, they put out a Facebook comment. It was actually a nasty comment saying, hey, to all the coaches and fighters out of there, what would you suggest to these fighters that are upcoming? And the first thing that they put on there is like, if you actually really want to do this as a sport, that you need to go to one of the big gyms and that you need to immerse yourself in that culture. And I don't necessarily agree with that, and I would actually probably venture to say that that's almost maybe a slower process, I think, at times, because you get lost in the mix. And I mean, it's not to say anything negative towards any of the huge gyms out there, but I think, like yourself, I mean, you've got 20 guys that you're having to worry about that are in the UFC, that's their full-time job. It's tough to get some of those newer guys that are, and spending time with some of those newer guys that are just starting to develop. So my recommendation was always to start out at kind of a smaller gym where you can get that level of attention that maybe you need when you first start, and then use those bigger gyms as kind of like a finishing school, because you need those harder training partners to be able to go with day in, day out, and help you get a little bit better. So,
well, I think one of the things that we have that I like at our schools, I see everybody every day, all the time.
Sure.
So that I can spend hands-on time during the jiu-jitsu class,
and
then follow up during the fight team practice. And hey, you need to do this. Why don't you go to the striking class tonight? Let's work on that right hand that we've been talking about. So I think that's one of the advantages of our place, is that I get to see everybody a lot. But I mean, for example, when I had a place in Denver. It was like a club. Mm-hmm. Your gym here is 20 times, 30 times as nice as that was.
You ever seen there one over there? It's right in front of a bar, sir. It wasn't maybe the best thing in the world.
Well, we moved every year. Like, we would try somebody else's school, and they'd get tired of us, and we'd move again and move again. Well, Alvin Robinson was my first student I ever had in the UFC. And it was me, him, about 6 jiu-jitsu guys, no striking coach, no strength and conditioning coach, and we made it to the UFC. And Benson came there because Alvin was there, because he admired the way Alvin trained and he fought, and he wanted to be like him. He wanted to use him as a role model. So when Ben came there, it was Alvin and Ben. That was it.
Yeah.
And we moved to Phoenix, and we had 3 guys to train with, and they were not names. They were not necessarily good. At that point in time, if you had a purple belt in jiu-jitsu,
yeah, you were like a god.
You got a red carpet into the room. Please come in and train with us.
I remember. Well, you were ahead of my time, but like even in my time, that was pretty amazing. So,
So and kind of the idea is that I started super small with one guy and no resources, nothing, and Alvin made it to the UFC on his effort. I'm not saying that's not a me thing; that's a us thing. It's a community thing. But if lots of people can do that. If you have the desire and you're going to work hard and you can have the knowledge, you certainly can get there on a smaller basis.
Do you feel like one of the other big things that they have talked about is like, okay, if you're going to be able to go to one of those gyms to start off right away, you probably have to have, a background in either boxing or maybe collegiate level wrestling for you to be able to make that skip from that beginning level gym to kind of an elite gym. Do you feel like that's something that is the case, or can your average Joe just kind of pop in there, start at the beginner jiu-jitsu classes, and then kind of work their way up?
Well, we have people in our program now that have done that, So I think it's completely possible. You just have to invest yourself in your craft. And you have to be. It's going to be much harder, if you're not an expert at something and you have to learn everything at the same time. Mixed martial arts is so hard because it's not just wrestling, it's not just sambo, it's not jiu-jitsu, it's not boxing, it's all of them. Mm-hmm. So man, you're really trying to get your double leg good, but your double leg defense better be good, and your right hand better be and your kicks, and don't forget footlocks, because you might have to go one against those 10th planet guys spinning around underneath you.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden there's just so many things to get good at. So if somebody will just come in every day and just keep coming, take a little nibble off that thing every day, all of a sudden they'll be good and they'll be able to compete.
Yeah, that was something that was just absolutely, seeing the John Danaher stuff and some of the leg lock stuff coming out. That to me was so amazing. Like, it seemed like 2008, 2009 was pretty much like the last year where you didn't really have to be an athlete in jiu-jitsu. You could have really good jiu-jitsu, didn't have to do much strength training, not really be an athlete, just be a good jiu-jitsu guy, and you can pretty much dominate. And then now that's completely changed. The game has to be super evolved. You have to pretty much, to compete at that top level, you have to be an athlete. You have to do all this, nutritional stuff, things like that. There's points when I absolutely hate that. I really miss like not being able to just do a traditional guard. Now I'm having to learn game over and saddle position and 4-1-1 and all this additional stuff. Man, this is
and worm guard, lapel guard, and
right.
all those things that like Leandro Lowe can't get out of.
Right.
He's pretty good, and he's stuck in those dang things. So imagine,
right.
just the regular duffers. What are you going to do? So yeah, it's Tenquinho Mendez, who's a multiple-time world champion in gi jiu-jitsu and no gi jiu-jitsu. Well, 2-time world champion no gi, once in a gi. But that guy works hard, man. Like, he strength and conditioning, he does stand-up, because he's still fighting, and he works on a stand-up game, and he teaches jiu-jitsu classes and comes to team practices. So it's not an easy prospect. If you're going to be a pro in jiu-jitsu, you're going to actually have to be a professional now, not just somebody that does it, a couple times a week, and you're not going to do well against those guys for sure.
Yeah. How, as a coach, how do you keep up with those changing of the sport?
For me, I'm not a huge sport jiu-jitsu.
Sure. I just mean it, even in MMA. I mean, MMA is the same way. I feel like that same kind of thing. As long as you were a decently tough guy, had a good double leg. I mean, I look at our record, when I actually used to care about our team record as an actual record rather than just making sure that people are performing well. Like, I think it was like 105 to like 10, but that was based on the fact that everybody that was fighting really wasn't training, and we were training. We had a decent level of skill, and then that changed dramatically because everybody else was evolving their game so much more. So how do you balance that?
I love the learning part of it. The details in the game are the fun part for me. I get tired of as a coach, it's really important to make sure the fundamentals are drilled and that they're good. You have to know what to do when somebody picks you up in a single leg. You have to, if somebody grabs a guillotine, you have to know how to get out. So you're balancing those drills with watching the new stuff that comes out. When somebody does something in there that you haven't seen, I immediately put it into our practice room where we do it to each other, so we're not surprised by it. And then I fly it by Tenquinho, and I have 6 or 8 black belts in there that are really good. I have some really creative brown belts, so we throw it out there and see what happens. And, hey, does this work? Tenquinho's like, well, I like it, but I like it like this. And somebody else will be like, well, I grab it like this. And all of a sudden, you have your own system of dealing with it and executing it. We just as an example, the old Oleg Tektarov rolling knee bar that he used to hit works really good from the dogfight position on your knees. When guys start to stand up, you just roll through, and the knee bar is really clean there. Yeah. And so we started playing with it and working on it again, and guys are hitting it and sparring. And remember Ole, he'd grab that sucker and just wait for you to do something wrong. But it's just interesting that comes back. But with, Danaher and the Death Squad guys all, being so great at those, it puts new details into that old move.
Right.
And it works just as great. So I try to keep an eye on what's going on. If something happens, Khabib Nurmagomedov, all his wrist ride stuff, leg ride stuff, nobody can get out. So you'd just be silly to ignore that. So we work on it all the time because I don't want our guys to get leg ridden and wrist ridden, and I want our guys to be able to sock people up when we get there. So anytime we see something that's successful, it's a copycat thing. You see it, and you're like, okay, I don't want that to happen to us. Let's practice it. And maybe, somebody's going to be really good at it. We have a good wrist rider, leg rider in our school, and Mike Hamill, who's a pro, and he's got some cool variations on that stuff too. So that's basically how it goes for us.
By the way, Jair, watching probably from the Holiday Inn, a mere
hey, coach.
6 blocks away.
What's up? One of the great coaches in the activity.
Yeah, more aware.
Yeah.
As well, I think. So thank you very much for watching. We'll do that side. He's watching on the Instagram side of things. Devin Turner says hello.
Hello, sir. Brown Bear.
Yeah. No, Devin Turner, not Devin Clark.
Oh, the littler Devin.
Yeah, we got so many Devins here right now.
I thought you had like 3 or 4.
Yeah, we got a Frenchie named Devin Donnet.
Oh,
he was an Augie wrestler, and then now he's starting to be a fighter as well. So
Devin Turner, my apologies.
Yeah, he went down there, checked out the gym. He said he absolutely loved it. So
he beat everybody up and then went back home. I don't know what the deal was.
I don't think that's how it went, but I think he said he had good training.
Doesn't he have a daughter now? Son? Did he have a baby?
He has a son. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Congratulations. Oh, Atlas shrugged. You better read your Ayn Rand.
Atlas is like one of the few kids that kids normally love me. And Atlas doesn't hate me, but he is not. He's not pro Bruce.
He has yet to warm up to you.
Yeah, that actually kills me on the inside a little bit. If a small child doesn't like, we're talking under 2, it's between the ages of like 2 to 5, they start to realize how large I am. And they're like, no sir, I keep my distance. But then before 2, they're just like, all right, big man, I'm fine with it. But then after 2, they're like, I am scared.
Well, you have to just keep working on Atlas.
Yeah. All right, we'll just keep working on it. I try so hard. Why doesn't Atlas like me, sir? He said, thanks, Coach. One Bulldog's watching now.
Oh, jeez. I better step up my game.
Yeah, no kidding. It seems like the Danaher guys, for the most part, are really developing a system for themselves and drilling into that. It seems like, Eddie Cummings and Gordon Ryan and all those guys, where they're like, okay, now I'm going to get into this position and I'm going to slowly drill down to that one point where I'm working on, and it seems like that was kind of the goal with 10th Planet as well, like a lot of the rubber guard stuff.
Mm-hmm.
For me, that was never really my style of doing stuff. I would kind of like, I hate to say it, but like, kind of throw a lot of stuff at them, see whatever stuck, and then kind of go with that. And so it always amazes me the engineering mind that a lot of coaches have and a lot of athletes have. So two-part question, if you will. Do you like having that kind of engineer as an athlete? And is that something that you look at as well as, okay, I'm going to try to drill down to one specific thing in a fight or in a grappling match, or is it something where, okay, I'm going to offer these 8 things and see kind of what sticks?
As a coach, I think, especially in an individual sport, you have to provide alternatives because I'm not going to do the same thing well that you do necessarily. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And then
it's warm.
Somebody that's 125 is not going to do the same thing as a heavyweight. Mm-hmm. And somebody that's super wrestler is not going to do the same thing as a striker. So there automatically has to be variations, So we have a system like everybody does, and we like to do this, this, and this. But as you go from there, you vary that based on a person's strengths, weaknesses, what they like, if they're creative. You certainly don't want to curtail somebody's creativity by putting them into your own system. Mm-hmm. But that being said, they have strengths and they should drill to get their positions specifically. So if you get to a spot, if I get to a spot with you, that's it. I'm getting caught in a Kimura, right? Like that's a wrap. You already know it because you've done it from there so many times. It may not be footlocks, like for the Danaher guys, but I think it is as a coach, it's important to have an open mind and be able to deal with the variation and help your athletes get to a point where they have their system. But then it becomes incumbent upon them to drill that system enough that they can they can put themselves in the most successful spot.
Yeah, that's I agree with that 100%. The getting back to the Khabib stuff, I watched Khabib fight, and as a coach that likes getting people into dominating positions and being able to strike from there, it's just so much fun to watch. But I do get irritated, and like I want the chance to train with him because the Oryx coaches either way, because of the fact that like when I see him do stuff, it's positionally it seems like it's off by like 2 inches each time. Like when he's getting like 2 legs over and sitting heavy on those legs, it seems like he's just like 2 inches low on the knees. If you go up just a little bit higher, you get so much more pressure. But like obviously, you know, it's working where you can talk to Joe Rogan while he punches people in the face. And
I think he's that's a problem that hasn't been solved yet.
Yeah,
it hasn't been solved. People don't have an answer for that yet. And when somebody's good at that and his hips are so heavy, I don't think he really cares.
Yeah.
Like, I think he makes you turn in such bad spots. You're going to give a hook on either side, and he doesn't care which one it is. It can be half guard, or it can be that, that top leg half that he uses with the bottom wrist drive, or it can be that just a regular half guard and it just sits on your foot and your leg. Randy Couture kind of did it back in the day, just without the wrist drive, And I don't think anybody solved it, and we'll see if Conor McGregor can.
That's like for anybody that has not fought before, that is a terrifying feeling when you get put in a position like that where you know there's not a whole lot you can do, and you're gonna have to work your butt off to even get to a better position. We're not talking like a good position. We're talking like slightly better where I'm not just getting punched.
And where you have a chance to take 3 steps to get out instead of no chance to get out. You're going to work to a spot where you still have a long way to go. That's miserable. Did you ever see the video of Ryan Schultz and Chris Wardesky?
No.
Oh man, poor Chris Wardesky. Ryan Schultz put that position on him and just beat him silly. It was terrible. You wanted the ref to step in. You could hear his mama yelling, "Stop already now!" in the back. It was terrible.
So earlier, right before we went on air, you had shared with me your new motto or vision statement for your team, and if it's okay with you, I'd like you to read it, and then let's talk about it for a little bit if you're okay with that.
Sure. When I listen to a lot of sports psychology, I study, I try to stay up with helping my athletes do whatever. I want to facilitate them to have the best performance they can have. That means having a happy life, having a healthy and happy approach to their training. If you're happy doing something, you're going to put forth a better effort. So Michael Gervais is a sports psychologist. He works with the Seattle Seahawks, and he does a great job up there. And it's really, he goes a lot with mindfulness. Phil Jackson, who coached the Bulls and the Lakers, and I think the Knicks for a little time. Maybe the greatest NBA coach ever. He was into that mindfulness, Like, for example, if you're having a bad moment, you acknowledge the bad moment, let it float by like a log in the river. I love that picture in my mind. You don't have to jump in. You don't have to try to sink the log. You don't have to, you have to do anything. You just notice it's there and then keep going with your day. So when they were working with the Seahawks, they came up with, he mentioned this term. I want to get it right, so that's why I'm pulling it up. They have a relationship-based community up there, and that really struck home for me because our relationships, not just as coaches but as humans, are all of us. If we don't, that's what you should be focusing on. In my opinion, is your relationships with people, your athletes, your friends, your family, all that. Not necessarily in that order, but if you cultivate those relationships, you're going to have trust. You're going to have belief, you're going to have commitment, you're going to have all those things that you need. So, our mission statement at the Mma Lab is to create a relationship-based community that supports all who desire to better themselves through martial arts and fitness. It sounds like a simple sentence, but that was months and months in the works to come up with that.
Yeah, and it's very I love it, almost how I steal that because it's very similar to kind of the same mentality that I've had at the gym. I want the the nice part that we have here is we have guys that have no aspirations of fighting ever. We have kids that have Down syndrome. We have guys that are deaf. We have moms that are, or grandmas, honestly, that they come in and train and everything. And they all have a goal of really wanting a community, and maybe their goal is fitness or whatever. But I think as a whole, everybody's kind of, as a whole, I should say, everybody's trying to look for a community of people that they can be, positive around. And I think that's really what I wanted to develop out of this situation. And it sounds like probably something that you wanted to develop at the Mma Lab as well.
I've been trying hard to do it all the time. I love it. Like you said, some coaches, it's hard for them to give up control of stuff. It's hard for me. But, I have all these great athletes and they have these great relationships with each other. So I love that we can all work together, trust as a team. Because it's an individual sport, right? Like you go out there individually, but man, it's an army behind you. If you go out there with that army behind you and having worked as a team and a community, you're going to have such strong connections. You're going to be able to stand by yourself and better. And I believe that 100%.
Yeah. What do you I'll get a lot of guys in here that maybe have a different view as to, I think even still here in the Midwest, a lot of folks still have the view of, okay, these guys are just coming in here to beat the crap out of each other, and that's really the idea of MMA and stuff like that. And for me, it's so much different. But I'll get fighters that will come in here, or I shouldn't say fighters, even guys that want to start fighting, or maybe they'll call me up and they'll say, I'm a badass street fighter and I want to just get in here. I'm interested to get your reaction on how you deal with guys like that are maybe like, and I'll say this, like, if you do that, I've pretty much counted you out at that point already, and I don't probably want to deal with it because you're going to make it tough on the gym atmosphere for the most part. And usually I try to push people to other gyms that are going to be like that, because I know it's not going to be a good fit for myself as a coach. I'm going to be struggling with that the whole time, and it's probably not going to be a good fit for you because it's not what you want. You don't want to kind of build that community. You're just trying to look to get better yourself. So how do you deal with that stuff?
It's the same way, like you said, they're probably just not going to make it. I've never had anybody, one of those crazy people that come in like all fired up. They've never made it, at least in my program. And I don't know, maybe they went on to have great success somewhere else, but I don't know. It has to be about helping each other to get better, to me. Because people are tough. I always wonder if you can build mental toughness, and different people say different things. I think you had a question on that. You put it on Facebook or something as a poll. And the truth is, I know guys that come in the first day and they never break. They get beaten up and tapped and punched and they never break. I've had really talented super athletes break easily. So I think you are who you are. You can hide it with training and conditioning and practice and technique, but underneath there, when the water boils really hot, you're going to be who you are, right? So we need that support from each other. And usually those people that are hot like that, they're the breakers, the more steady, calm, those guys are there for the long distance, long haul, and that's who you need, I think.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And it's always crazy to me too that I've been really excited about the group now that we have in with college wrestlers, where all the college wrestlers that we have in right now have such a really good mental attitude about in-ring training and helping each other get better. And I think at times, due to that wrestling mentality of just trying to really just go hard on each other day in, day out, and really just try to be the top dog in the room, changing that slightly to, okay, let's try to make each other better because we need to develop as a group, not necessarily as an individual person. The thing that's tough, it happened with David and it happened with a bunch of other guys that we had. They developed so much faster than some of the other guys that they really they made themselves obsolete in the room because they got so much better than everybody else in the room that now, okay, I can't get better because everybody else is not moving along as fast as I do. So it's nice to see that those college athletes not necessarily switch their mindset, but they've adopted that mindset. I'm going to go ahead and try to make everybody in here better. That way, I know in a year it'll pay dividends, and I'll make myself better.
Well, you got to figure college wrestlers. I mean, they're young men when they go in there, and a bunch of them, when they get to be older men, have new knees and new hips and new shoulders, and that is not a sport for the weak. That is a hard sport, right. And that's why it's made such a great base for people to be fighters, because there's nobody tougher. I mean, there's lots of tough guys in the world, but in my experience, college wrestlers are the toughest. But I think you gotta, as you get older and guys are 25 or 35, like you can't do that every day, and you can't practice 4 sports a day at that pace. So you got to find something that'll make you better without damaging you. You certainly are going to have competitive moments, and there needs to be times when you turn the fire up almost as hot as it can go, because you have to test it under fire. But most of those guys that are older, Ben Henderson has already proven how tough he is. He doesn't need to prove his toughness every day in the ring. That's going to happen. David's a tough guy. He doesn't need to prove himself to some 17-year-old hothead every day. What he needs is to learn a couple of new tricks, keep going, keep healthy, and then compete where, keep the edge of his knife sharpened, so that when he steps in the ring, he's 100% ready to go.
We talked a little bit about the mental side of things. Was that something that was always a part of your training, or was that something new that you kind of put in there, just learning from some of the podcasts that you listen to and some of the books that you read, obviously? I studied at the Gracie Academy. I went with Hoist and Hornian, right? And I loved it. I wouldn't trade it. But they were not in favor of competition, right? They didn't like us to do tournaments and stuff. But then we'd have in-house tournaments. Like the dichotomy of that was weird. But I had some really good friends that were great competitors coming in, just monsters. But you throw them out there and they compete with anybody and do well. And then by the end of it, they were afraid to compete. They were afraid of the failure of it. They were afraid of that stuff. So that has motivated me quite a bit to think about how do you make a competition something that is not such a live or die thing, right? Because we all compete every day, all of us, for everything. We all compete. So I want the guys to be okay with the failure of it, because we all are going to fail. There's just no exception to that rule. So don't be scared of it. Jump, fall down, let's get up and jump again. And pretty soon, and that's why wrestlers are so good, they compete every day. 3 times a week they do tournaments, real tournaments. And they don't have time to sit there and feel sorry for themselves. And that is a super important part about learning how to compete. So the mental part of that, accepting failures, for what they're worth. Take the information from it and then just shoot that away, flush it away, and let's go to the next thing, and let's go to the next thing. And pretty soon, competition is just what you do. It's not this big deal. Like guys that do jiu-jitsu tournaments, right? They do one every 5 years. Well, they get all built up. Oh, I gotta do great. I gotta win. Yeah, it's probably not gonna go that great. There's too much pressure. Approaching it the wrong way. It's just got to be part of who you are. You're gonna go out. You're gonna do the best you can, and then we're gonna accept whatever comes out of that. That's been a huge one for me, because I think when I was competing, I was always trying to prove something to my coach, and I don't know why that was. I think a lot of it from my end has to do with finding a father figure in that, and then trying to prove that to them, and also just stuff there. We could get into that for days if we go into my coaches. But really, I see that a lot in athletes that they have, especially in the combat sports side of things, of just trying to work through those mental barriers. And for me, it seems like, you mentioned it earlier, putting those guys through a lot of those heavy tests, but also having empathy in the fact that they are going through those tests, rather than putting them down when they have to do that. So. Yeah, support them. If they fail, we all fail. Right. There's just no exception to that rule. It doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter how good you are at what you do. You will fail, and that's okay. That's just part of being a human. And my job is to go, hey, that's all right. That's good. You won by trying. Your victory was in the journey to that moment, and that was this long. I almost don't like fights. I mean, I like them because I like to see guys shine, but it's 15 minutes that represent 15 years, you know? It's not really a fair representation.
And so if we put all our eggs in that one basket and we don't perform as we should, then all of a sudden it's somehow this crushing failure. Well, it's not. Your victory was always on the way. And your victory will be the next day when you get up again and you pick up your kids and you hug them and you go to the park when you're feeling terrible and you realize there's more to life than just that one moment in time, you know?
Yeah, a lot of people, I try to equate, what it's like to go for a fight, taking the getting punched in the face thing out of it completely, because that to me is always the least about it. A lot of times, for the fighters, in my opinion, it's more the nerves and things like that. And so, if you take it, any of your day job, maybe you're a car salesman, okay, on this specific day, June 3rd, you have to sell 5 cars, that day, and if you don't, you're going to be seen as a failure, and everybody's watching you, kind of thing.
You get paid half your money, or
right.
You might lose your job that day.
Right.
Like, you only make half if you don't do it, and we're going to cut you maybe. You got to go work somewhere else.
That to me, it just seems like such an archaic system too. I don't know. Like it's weird that the UFC doesn't pay like a monthly. Okay, you're going to get paid X amount of dollars per year. Whether we'll reevaluate your contract at the end of each year and kind of go from there. Like I don't know, like pretty much every other job does in the world. But that, like you said, it's okay. We're going to have. It's either going to be like sometimes people don't realize when you're watching a fight and the fight's super close. And you're watching the guy's face, and you watch the guy's face just lose $200,000, or more, and
and usually that's the secondary thing, right? Like there's all those weird feelings of like they've disappointed themselves, they've disappointed their coaches, disappointed their families, none of which is true. But there's those feelings first, and then you get in the locker room and go, oh, by the way, I have $200,000 less than I thought I was going to.
Yep, I was going to go buy this, and this. For my wife or for my family, I'm not going to do that.
But the $200,000, that's a pretty healthy. I'm not sure who you're talking about because most of my guys are like $2,000.
Okay, so the $2,000.
I wish it were $200,000. That'd be good.
I paid $50 once for the fight. So I got.
Did you win?
I did win. I was supposed to get $500, and I got $50. And that fight was like 20 seconds long.
Well, that's fine.
That was the only reason I was okay with it.
You should have dragged it out a while. Maybe you'd have gotten $450 or something.
Well, it was one of the dumbest things in the world too, because it was an outdoor event. This promoter has passed away. So I will not speak negatively about you, but the venue basically was an outdoor event. It was in a ring, and then so they basically had cattle guards around the outside of the event, and pretty much the only people that paid to get in were like the 4 people that paid to get in. Everybody else just drove their truck on the outside of the cattle guard and watched it.
Oh,
and
no.
It was raining outside. There was no tarp or anything. And so I fought in the rain with no lighting and no nothing. And probably one of the worst kicks I've ever seen in MMA, just because, well, 1, because it was me kicking. And then 2, because I was almost slipped and fell on my butt. Kicked him one time. He said, ow, turned around, and I physically couldn't hit him again. I felt so bad, and so we choked him, and that was like a 20-second fight. A standing choke.
It sounded like he was super impressive fighter.
He was.
Yeah.
No, he had fought before. I had reffed a bunch of his fights before, and it was, it was.
They weren't with his little sister, his mom, or something.
No, it was a crap event. I wasn't even scheduled to be on that card. I don't think I had a mouthpiece. I don't think I had a cup. It was my high school reunion that we were going to. I think it was my 10-year high school reunion.
For goodness sakes.
Yeah, and then guys were like, "Don't you do this stuff?" And I was like, "Well, yeah." And then they're like, "Let's do it." So that was a terrible showing. Like the 4 guys that I graduated high school with were all kind of like.
I think that was good.
Yeah, awkward.
Is he supposed to be that bad?
But so I really don't even chalk that one up as a win. But yeah. So where do you think this that mentality as far as coaching came from? I mean, we'll kind of wrap it up here, but I know that you've spent what were you, like a 22-time state champ band?
Oh, that's too many, but yeah, I mean, I think it's 13 for bands, but for color guards it's a lot, and drum lines I have a few world championships in there too.
Ooh.
So I did the activity for a long time, had a great time, and had a lot of great friends and good mentors that really showed me, the importance of community and working together. In those activities, you're only as good as your very worst member. You know? If some kid's out there playing all the wrong notes, like, you're going to be terrible. Doesn't matter if you have 100 kids that are good and one kid that's bad. So I have a good eye for detail, and that was through that activity. You know, I see really well when people are doing stuff. I can catch errors and stuff from far away. So that built me there, and that sense of community, and how important it was for everybody to be on the same page. And really just not having been, I wanted to be a better competitor when I was in this. You know, I was in a couple of little jiu-jitsu tournaments, just in-house tournaments, you know, Gracie National Tournament kind of thing, but they aren't anything like Worlds today. And I'm not anywhere near the competitor athlete any of my fighters are. They're just head and shoulders above. But I remember I would win. I won a couple, and I don't know why I won, and then I would lose, and I wasn't sure why that happened either.
Sure.
So the inability to decipher what led to success and what didn't was frustrating for me. And so that's been really important to me, to really work hard to make a community and an atmosphere where people feel like they can grow and succeed.
As a aging coach myself, how do you deal with that then? How do you maybe you get guys that are on the surface alpha males that are feel like they're super athletic, and as a coach now that you've been doing this for quite a while, and you're probably not rolling with them, responding with those guys quite as much. How do you still command that respect from those guys? Is that just something that you exude, or is that something that you've obviously built from other athletes that have then transferred that onto them? How does that work?
Maybe that's what it is. I mean, I don't know. I've been fortunate to have a lot of good people that really wanted to get better, and they trusted me. I think it all boils down to trust, you know. I've learned a bunch of stuff from my guys.
Yeah.
And I have no problems. I'll steal something from anybody. Don't warm up in front of me, because I'm watching, and I'll steal it from you, use it against you, you know. So I think they trust that I have their best interest at heart. They trust that I've studied and understand what I'm doing, and the results have spoken for themselves, you know.
Sure.
And so they know that they've seen it work, and so they trust that process works. I've never really had an issue with that, never. So I don't know how it came about, other than, you know, I've kind of been the guy in charge and everything I've been doing for a long time. So maybe just dumb luck, I guess. And then, you know, I love the sport, and I love the people I'm around. And I think guys can tell if you're for real or not, and that will drive that trust.
Last question: what continues to drive you as a coach? You know, you've had world champions in MMA. You have elite level jiu-jitsu guys that are at your gym. What continues to drive John Crouch every day at the MMA Lab?
I used to be a very competitive person. Like, I hated to lose. If you beat me at Monopoly, I'd be pissed for 3 days, and I'd want to play you again. And that settled down as I gotten older and realized I was being an idiot. But I still have that competitive streak. You know, I still want to win every fight. But I just think it's changed a little bit, because the process, I realize, is the win, you know? So it's always just trying to win that battle right there in front of me, you know? Getting the guy to practice, helping. I can't find a babysitter, you know? Like, oh, my car broke down. Like, I'm struggling with my confidence. My armbar escape is terrible, and I fight in 2 days, you know? Like, all those little battles that occur moment to moment, those are the ones you got to win. Just that next breath, just that next moment. And that drives me. That's fun for me. That process is everything to me. So almost the fights have become anticlimactic in a way, because I feel like they've already been taken care of. Like, we've already done everything we can.
Yeah.
So roll the freaking dice and let's do this. I don't care, I'm ready. So that's what motivates me, is the love of the process and the love for the people around me.
Yeah. I had no idea when I started coaching that I was going to be a mental health coach, a strength and conditioning coach. By the way, I'm terrible at that for anybody that's watching. I'm sure if Devin Turner, if you're still watching, yes, I agree, I'm terrible at that. Mother, father, baker, all these other traits that you have to absorb as a coach. That was not on the job description, and it quickly became that. So
I think every coach, maybe not, but I feel like every coach has that. Like I heard Greg Jackson say once that your coaching is a service. You're in a service position.
Right.
I never thought of it like that.
Yeah.
You know, you're not about the glory of it anymore. And if you are, you're probably doing it wrong. And so I think any coach that's any good is always trying to take care of their athletes and provide them with the best so they can be successful when the lights come on. Are we going to be ready? And to do that, you have to be a mental health coach and straight into cook and mom and dad and little brother and car mechanic, whatever it takes.
Right.
That's what you want to do.
Well, I think that's been about an hour. That was way longer than I was hoping to steal from you, but...
Dang, sorry, didn't mean to
no,
ramble on.
I know, I love it. I'd still 8, 10, 12 more hours. Looks like the Facebook one was running just fine for the rest of the time. Thank you, Windows, for sticking with
cooperating.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you very much, and I hope to have you on several more times, 2, 3, 4, 20 years down the road. I don't know what we're going to be doing in 20 years, but
still hanging out for sure.
I hope so.
You're a good guy. I really appreciate it.
I enjoy it. I'm basically going to call you a Sioux Falls person at this point. You've been here so much.
A lot. A lot. And I still don't remember what the airport looked like.
Oh.
David was making fun of me bad today.
I feel like the Sioux Falls, I don't know if you've been to Newark, but Sioux Falls Airport looks exactly like the Newark Airport to me. And so
no, Newark's like gigantic, right?
You think so?
I don't know. I don't remember. It seems like it should be.
I feel like it's really tiny for
Newark, New Jersey.
Yeah, I feel like it's really for those I wish I had Robel here just because I feel like
we need a statistician to look this up.
I need a Jamie.
Robel, what the heck, man?
Exactly.
Like you only are fighting tomorrow. You need to get here and get some work done.
But yeah, I feel like I expected the same thing where I was like, oh man, this is gonna be huge, and it was like ridiculously tiny. Like I stepped off the plane, exited, and then that was pretty much I was outside. It was like I was outside of the airport. So, but thank you very much for coming on. And by the way, I forgot to say this earlier. I'm terrible that my brain is rattled today. Thanks to Team How and Science Nutrition for sponsoring this wonderful show, and as always being great people on top of that. So you'll get to see Team How live and in person tomorrow night at the Bellator event. I know that they're sponsoring Jordan Larson and Bryce Loden, and they'll probably have a pretty cool suite, and I'm hoping to maybe spend a few seconds up there as well, but security last time did not let me in. They're like, no sir.
Weird.
Yeah.
I mean, you look so trustworthy.
I almost went as far as to say, do you know who I am? But
you should have.
I
think that's a go-to. I think that should be everywhere you go.
That would have got me nowhere.
Yeah, if you go to Starbucks tomorrow, just say that and see how it goes.
It's weird because pretty much I'll say this: any other venue I can go to, MGM Grand and feel, or the MGM and feel pretty good, walk around and not get asked any questions by security. But here at the Pentagon and at the Premier Center, there were 2 times that I have been stopped and just said, nope, sir, that's not a good pass. That's not going to work. I'm like, seriously, guys, I need to get down. No. So it's usually by some 80-year-old lady that they probably plant on purpose because they know that I'm a decent person that's not going to yell at an 80-year-old woman. So I'm like,
You're their test. You're her test. Okay, Zelda, go over there and turn this man down.
Okay, I guess I'll buy a ticket or something. I'll figure this out. So, all right, let's end this thing and maybe go hang out more at the hotel, I guess.
Done.
All right. Oh my God.
What happened?
Instagram, I'm glad you're watching this. It was good for you. It was terrible for Facebook. Oh no.
What happened?
When it came back on, they muted the mics.
They muted what?
They muted the mics.
Well, whatever.
Oh my God.
Well, I don't have anything good to say, so it's probably just as well get that old fucker out of there. You'll have to share it from Instagram.